Black and gold fans, college football fans, welcome in and welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, where I examine, discuss, celebrate, and honor all things college football across the entire college football landscape, but with a very special emphasis on our beloved black and gold squads of the Missouri Tigers and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Welcome. This is my Week 2 review and recap episode. It's great to be back with you. I'm your host, Blair Parks. Holla at you, boy. It's great to be back here with you. And wow, what a Week 2 we were treated to. I'm telling you, just to open up the show, Week 2, we saw not one, not two, but three top 10 opponents, top 10 teams fall on Saturday. Two of them fell at home versus unranked opponents, and both of those unranked opponents were from non-Power 5 conferences. And we almost witnessed a fourth top 10 team lose, the number one team, in fact, being the Alabama Crimson Tide. They almost fell on the road as a 20-point favorite to Texas in Austin. What a great weekend of football it was. Once again, it's great to be back here with you. Week 2, one conference. If you watched my Week 2 picks and preview episode last week, I did start off by saying that one conference really had the opportunity to send a big-time statement coming into Week 2. That was the Big 12. They had two mammoth life-size matchups. You had Baylor traveling to BYU in a matchup of ranked opponents in Provo, Utah, and the one I just referred to, number one Alabama at Texas. But one conference did rise to the occasion. But spoiler alert, it was not the Big 12. The Big 12 had a decent, solid showing. But one conference did rise to the occasion and absolutely stole the spotlight. And it is a conference that you probably least expected to do so. So what a week it was. Oh, man. It was not a banner week for our beloved black and gold squads of Iowa and Missouri. Definitely a Week 2 to forget. So before I say any more, I want to take this opportunity, as always, to express my gratitude and my appreciation for all that you've done for the channel, your time, your attention. Everything is trending up in the right direction, trending up. Views are up, likes are up, shares are up, subscribers are up. I definitely could use more subscribers, so please help to spread the word and the love. And also, comments are way up. Without you, none of this would be possible. It's such a pleasure for me to share with you every week my love and passion for this sport, but it's all for your entertainment. I do nothing for monetary gain or purposes. I don't do any dress rehearsals. I don't do any retakes or edits. I just click, record, end, download, and send. So thank you for all you continue to do. And rather than say, like Little Caesar himself, rather than say pizza, pizza, I'll say thank you for everything that you do. And each and every week, I always encourage and welcome your comments. And when individuals do comment and get involved, I always like to show my appreciation for that. So my last episode that came out Sunday morning, my instant reaction and recap of the Iowa versus Iowa State game, unfortunately was a loss for our Hawkeyes. We got some good comments from a couple of first-timers who were checking out the show. So just to say thanks, I want to give them a couple shout-outs. The first one is to Tim Gravy, and the other is the Mike 97. Thank you for your comments on that episode. The Mike 97 kind of informed me that I may need to change the title of the channel from the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog to something else, due to Iowa maybe potentially not being able to score a touchdown or touchdowns. And I did inform the Mike 97 that I was already well ahead of him, and I kind of already started game planning. So potentially the backup name for this channel could end up being the Safety School. I mean, based on Iowa's 2 safeties from their defense week 1 versus South Dakota State. And Tim Gravy, I love that. He kind of piggybacked off of that and said a suggestion for the rebrand of the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. If you do need to rename it, how about Punt Down Iowa? There we go. I love it because as we know as Hawkeye fans, punting is winning. And man, we've got a great punter this year. The punter from down under, Tory Taylor, his legacy continues to grow week in and week out. So thank you, fellas, for your comments, and hopefully you can continue in the near future with upcoming episodes. So getting back to where we were, just to pick up about our black and golds, yeah, not a good weekend to be a fan of our black and golds. Both games did not go as planned. Well, actually, I take that back. One actually did go as planned. I saw one coming, and I'll get to that here shortly. But first of all, both of our teams faced opponents from the Big 12 Conference. Missouri traveled to Manhattan, the little Big Apple, to take on the Kansas State Wildcats. And that game, Missouri was never really competitive. I mean, never really had a chance in this game. I will say the lone bright spot, Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker, who looks like he may have gotten just a little bit thicker in the offseason. He did what he does. He showed up, he balled out, 2 for 2 for field goals, so he does what he does. And if you recall, that was my pick to win the Lou Groza Award for the nation's best kicker at the end of the season when all of the dust and clouds and fog settle and remove themselves. So he did what he does. But other than that, Missouri didn't really have any chance in this game. I mean, it was non-competitive. The fourth quarter was just UGLY ugly. I mean, just a turnover fest at that point. And it was almost like Missouri just packed it in for the day. And now Coach Eli Drinkowitz finds himself on the hot seat. I'm not one of those who is putting him on the hot seat yet. But if it continues to go the way it did on Saturday morning, I may have to comment a little bit more about that. In Iowa, that's the game that I actually kind of saw going the way that I anticipated it going. Or like the emperor would say, everything is proceeding as I have foreseen it. I mean, I did pick Iowa to lose last week in my picks episode, but also before I even knew how bad this offense was, preseason, during my 2022 Iowa Hawkeyes preview and prediction show, I predicted Iowa State to win this game anyway. So it really played out the way I thought it would. Just a awesome, dynamic, shutdown defense, excellent special teams that recorded not one but 2 blocked punts by the same person, Lucas Van Ness. Excellent job. But then also the flip side of that is a completely inept offensive offense. And that's what cost Iowa that game. The Missouri-Kansas State score ended up being 40-12, Kansas State. And Iowa loses to Iowa State 10-7 at home in Kinnick Stadium. The first time that Iowa State has beaten them in 6 years. So they now do take back the Cy-Hawk Trophy. It kind of had taken up residency in Iowa City. The official change of address had been put through. Now they're going to have to put that through with the USPS once again. And good luck with that, with all of the chaos within snail mail recently. But so that's how it turned out for our beloved black and golds. Hopefully this week will bring anew, and we'll see what they can do. So the rest of this episode, I've got a great episode on tap for you. Much like last week's week one's preview or review and recap episode, First up is going to be my 6-pack, my quick takes of buy, sell, or hold. Then followed by the good, the bad, and the ugly from week 2. Then after that, I'm going to get into my team power rankings post week 2 as far as the top 12 teams that I believe are right now in Division I college football. It has nothing to do with the AP rankings, and I have another reason why. Definitely want to tune in for this, because you're going to see why I put no investment into AP polls or even coaches polls at this point, and you'll see why later this episode. And then after that, my final segment will be my 3 cheers segment. I give a hip hip hooray to a team of the week, a player of the week, and a wild card of the week. It could be teams, players, units, coaches, fan bases. Definitely want to stay tuned for that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into my buy, sell, or hold segment. So let's go ahead and start the bell. The stock market is now officially open. There it is. So let's get to it. Buy, sell, or hold. All right. So my first quick take, and this is kind of a continuation from last week's buy, sell, or hold segment. Following Saturday's OT victory 34-27 on the road at number 17 Pittsburgh, Tennessee is now the 3rd best team in the SEC. I completely am going to buy this statement. It's absolutely the truth to me. I know Kentucky scored a very impressive road victory on Saturday against the Gators in the Swamp in Gainesville. So a very, very big victory for Coach Mark Stoops and the Kentucky program. And also, while I'm at it, a little shout out to Coach Mark Stoops, who coaches Iowa South at Kentucky. He's built a brand, a culture, an identity. And with that big win in the Swamp, he passed. He now is the Kentucky program's all-time leader in victories. And he did pass a football coach that you might have heard of at one point, the name of Paul Bryant, or better known as Paul the Bear Bryant. So congratulations to you, Mark Stoops, on that victory and that milestone. But I still don't have a very good read on Florida or Kentucky yet. I think Tennessee is the 3rd best team in the SEC. Big time victory against a really, really solid Pittsburgh team. I mean, I'm a believer in Pitt and what Coach Narduzzi is doing there in the Steel City. So as of now, I do think Tennessee is the 3rd best team behind Georgia and Alabama in the SEC. And as always, feel free, like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you agree or disagree on these takes or anything else that you hear or see during this episode. Take number 2. Following Saturday's double overtime victory over number 9 Baylor at home, BYU is the best team in the West. I'm going to hold this for now. I really want to say buy because I am high on this BYU Cougars team. I definitely think they are the real deal, but they've got another quick challenge coming up this weekend in week 3. There's no rest for the weary being an independent until next year when they officially join the Big 12 Conference. They have to get up and travel to Oregon, who now finds themselves ranked here in the polls in week 2. And we all know Eugene is as tough an environment as any to go in and win. So if BYU goes to Eugene and picks up the victory after just knocking off a top 10 opponent, the defending Big 12 champions, mind you, in Baylor, I think it's a slam dunk to say they are the best team out west. So I'm going to hold that for now. Take number 3. After losing 45-42 to Georgia Southern, the Eagles at home, while giving up over 600 yards of total offense to Georgia Southern, and dropping to an overall record of 5-22 in one-score affairs, Nebraska had no choice but to dismiss Coach Scott Frost immediately instead of waiting until October 1st, when, in fact, his buyout dropped from $14 million currently to $7.5 million. And this is the news. Scott Frost was terminated on Sunday morning. I definitely saw it coming. This take, I'm going to buy. I absolutely think they had no choice. That's a good amount of dough, all right, to basically say, well, rather than just wait a couple more weeks. I mean, they have a big game this week. They host Oklahoma, old Big 12 matchup. But Nebraska had no choice but to do this. They had to terminate him ASAP. They just did. I mean, the fan base, they owed it to their teams, their coaches, their fans, their alums, everything. I mean, such a rabid and such a defiant, not defiant, but a very proud, loyal fan base. They had to do this. And quite frankly, this should really be a load off Scott Frost's shoulders. I mean, think about it. He really was dead man walking. I think they already determined internally that they were going to dismiss him after or on October 1st. I think it was going to happen. But there was they could not drag it out any longer after this defeat at home to a Sun Belt Conference team, being, I believe, a 3-touchdown favorite, I believe, too, in the process. But then again, hey, if someone was to come to me, I have a very good job. I enjoy it. It's not my dream job, mind you, but I enjoy it. I'm good at it. I like it. I work for a worldwide corporation. And if they were to come to me and say, Blair, we're very sorry. We appreciate your hard work, your efforts, your dedication, the passion that you put into this place, but we're going to have to let you go. And by the way, here's your $14 million buyout. I think I'd be a pretty happy man. I would party like it's 1999. That's just me. So Scott Frost, the best of luck to you. I definitely think he will be back in coaching next season. Maybe not at the head coaching rank, but as an assistant coach, coordinator, a unit coach. I think he will be back at football. So finally, that's happened. And that means another one of my bold predictions that I made, and my episode aired a few weeks ago, my 2022 Bold Predictions episode. Another one has pretty much like Cheech and Chong gone up in smoke, because I actually predicted that Scott Frost would win enough games so then Nebraska would actually retain him. So there goes another one. So by that statement, he had to go at this point. My take number 4, when the dust settles, we will have for the first time ever only 2 conferences represented in the college football playoff field, the SEC and the Big Ten. I'm going to hold this one for now, but we're definitely trending in that direction. I'm sticking with my 4 original playoff participants. I did pick Alabama, Ohio State, Utah, and Clemson. But the way it's looking, you could have 4 teams, 2 teams from each, the SEC and the Big Ten in the playoff. I mean, Georgia and Alabama, Ohio State, and now Michigan looks very formidable with the J.J. McCarthy project. He looked excellent, his first career start over the weekend. Granted, it was against Hawaii, but he gets to start this week in week 3 against UConn. And if he's able to continue that execution at that high of a level, he looked really good. Michigan's going to be a tough team to beat. So we could have that, but I'm going to hold it for now. And I definitely will circle back to that one later. Number 5, after a spirited and inspired effort, but coming up just short of a victory over number 1 Alabama as a 21-point dog at home, and due in part also to a phantom roughing the passer call, which was absolutely highway robbery. Sorry, Alabama fans, it was. And also, former number 1 QB prospect, 5-star Quinn Ewers was lighting them up. Him and his beautiful Joe Dirt-like mullet. He was lighting them up, moving the ball very effectively early. He leaves early, or about midway through the first half, doesn't come back. So maybe without that happening, that phantom roughing the passer call, which cost Texas a safety, and maybe Quinn Ewers stays in the game. They win, but they don't. But that being said, is it official? Texas is back? No, I am selling that, all right? You came close, but I don't believe in rewarding mediocrity or moral victories. You were close, but you're not there yet. I gained a lot of respect and a ton of admiration for Coach Sark and the Texas program. They're definitely on their way, but to say that Texas is back, hook 'em horns, not quite yet. But I do think they could be a player within the Big 12 conference, and time will tell, but I'm selling Texas is back for now. And number 6, my last hot take, deals with one of our black and golds. Iowa's quarterback play, production, execution, or lack thereof is more accurate, is primarily to blame for their offensive woes and challenges. That is an absolute hard sell. Definitely has a part of that, but is that the primary reason why? No. There are other reasons too. I mean, they don't have playmakers. They had their 2 best wide receivers missed this game, week 2 yet again. Play calling has been atrocious. The receivers they have on the field can't get separation. The O-line can't win and keep the line of scrimmage. They keep losing the point of attack. Iowa rushed for under 60 yards again. I mean, so there's so many problems why this offense is completely discombobulated. You just can't blame it primarily on one thing. So that's a sell. I mean, yes, quarterback play continues to be an issue because you really have to try hard to be the worst offense in the nation. And officially, it's true, it's happened. Iowa ranks 131st out of 131 FBS teams in total offense. So anything we're doing right, but congratulations, we can only go up from here, Iowa fans. So look at it like that, but a sell on that last hot take. So like, share, comment, let me know what you think. So now, next segment, let's move into one of my favorite segments. There it is. Here it is. Let it play. That's right, Blondie. Let it play. It's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly from week 2. I love this new segment. I love that, and what a classic movie, by the way. So let's start off with the good from week 2, and I did refer to this earlier in the episode. The good was a historic day for the Sun Belt Conference, or what I like to call the Fun Belt Conference. The Sun Belt was in full effect on Saturday. What a absolute historic, glamorous day it was. Glamorous, yeah, a little Fergie Ferg there for the Sun Belt. This is what we saw. I already told you, the 2 top 10 teams that lost at home versus unranked non-Power 5 programs, both of those non-Power 5 programs came from the Sun Belt. First of all, Marshall. That's right, Marshall. We are Marshall. Marshall defeated number 8 Notre Dame in South Bend. The other one was Appalachian State, the Mountaineers, after coming so close in week 1, scoring 40 points in the 4th quarter, but losing on a 2-point conversion attempt to North Carolina. They defeat number 6, Texas A&M, in College Station. I mean, mammoth upsets. Another one that I already brought up to you as well, Georgia Southern defeats Nebraska in Lincoln. Wow, and the other ones that are kind of under the radar that the Sun Belt accomplished, East Carolina, which almost knocked off highly ranked North Carolina State in week 1, just had a couple kicking issues. They defeated Old Dominion, the Monarchs, who in week 1 defeated Virginia Tech from the ACC. Well done, ECU. Another one, South Alabama, the Jaguars, along with the University of Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, and The Coastal Carolina Chanticleers all got victories, improved their records to 2-0. And I've got to talk about another 2-0 Sun Belt team who got a victory in week 2 is James Madison, the Dukes. James Madison, if you're not in the know or if you've forgotten, this is their first year at the FBS Division I level. Recently, they have been a powerhouse at the FCS level, but here they are, their first year at FBS level in the Sun Belt Conference, and they're 2-0. And they already have a legitimate non-conference victory. Week 1, they absolutely embarrassed the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee State. So well done, Sun Belt Conference. I mean, just awesome. And there's a big matchup this weekend. The South Alabama Jaguars travel to UCLA. They play in the Rose Bowl. That's definitely a pick that's going to be included during my Week 3 picks episode later this week. And another thing I need to bring up is the paydays. I mean, you talk about what some of these big-time programs paid these teams to come to their venues. Not only did they kick their asses, but they collected a whole lot of this. They did. Let me share some of these numbers with you. Marshall, in defeating number 8 Notre Dame, they not only got the victory, but flew home with a $1.25 million payout from Notre Dame. Wow. Texas A&M got the loss, but also paid $1.5 million. That's right, $1 million to Appalachian State. Nebraska not only takes it on the chin, firing their coach in the aftermath, get the loss, but also they pay Georgia Southern $1.4 million. I mean, that is only college football, only in America, as the late, great Don King would say. So those are legitimate paydays for those Sun Belt Conference teams as well. So another reason to celebrate and party down. I mean, that is great, and I'm so proud. I mean, the Sun Belt, great brand of football. Now, if you don't know, now you know, period. All right? So now let's get to the bad. Wow. The bad, you all know this. I shouldn't have to say it, but I try. I need to. If this is your first time watching, obviously, I'm a Hawkeye fan, but I am not a Homer Simpson. The bad for week 2 is my division, the Big Ten West. I mean, wow. 4 upsets at home as favorites. And it's hard to know. I mean, obviously, I saw the Iowa loss coming. I picked that one to happen. So not a big surprise or shock there at all. But the other 3, I mean, wow. Did not see this coming. That includes Duke. Duke defeated Northwestern, who looked so sound in week 0 in Dublin against Nebraska. The Blue Devils pulled off the victory in Evanston. Congratulations, Duke, and more on them actually later in this episode. Another one, wow, Georgia Southern, mentioned this one, Georgia Southern defeating Nebraska and Lincoln. Well done. The one that I really did not see coming, Washington State got the victory over with number 19 Wisconsin at Camp Randall. That's right, jumping around and all. The Cougars come in and take down the Badgers. I mean, just a bad look for the Big Ten West this weekend. And really, the team that I'd really anticipated losing as well was Illinois, who looked completely outmatched last week on Friday night. A really bad, disgusting loss at Indiana. Illinois was able to handle Virginia and stud quarterback Brennan Armstrong at home. So congrats to you, the Fighting Illini. I mean, if that would have held up the way I saw it, there would have been 5 out of 7 teams could have lost in the Big Ten West. So that was absolutely the bad. And obviously, Iowa losing 10-7 with that offense, it's even worse at this point. Almost you can't even stomach it. It's how bad it is. Now the ugly, and I did bring this up a little bit ago. The ugly to me is the AP polls and the coaches polls. I was so livid when I saw this yesterday. I even thought about maybe making this my sound off segment that happens at the end of my picks and preview episode. So definitely expect that on Thursday. But this is why I don't go through AP polls or coaches polls at this point. All that matters for polls is when we start getting the college football playoff rankings. It's absolutely absurd, embarrassing, and it just, what I've seen. I mean, I'm going to share this with you. This is what I'm referring to, okay? That 3 examples of why these polls should not exist, and 3 examples of absolutely how there is conference bias out there. I mean, I know all you SEC fans, my brothers and sisters in SEC country, I respect you, but this does exist. And you know why? Hey, I'll be the first person to say that there is Big Ten biases and Big Ten politics. And there is in the SEC. And all of the Power 5 conferences, there is biases and politics. I mean, in the Big Ten, pollsters, coaches do whatever they can to get the big brands, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, ranked and get them some publicity. It happens in all of them. And if you deny that, then either you're in denial, which ain't just a river in Africa, or you can continue to live in your glass house. I mean, that's just how it is. So 3 examples of this. Number 25 is Oregon this week. They got absolutely pummeled, embarrassed week 1 against a very, very studly Georgia team, 49-3. Week 2, they broke it off on Eastern Washington, who is not a bad team at the FCS level. It was home in Eugene. They should not be ranked. I'm sorry. Maybe they were looking at, okay, we only have 2 Pac-12 teams ranked. We got to get one in. So let's just go ahead and make it Oregon. No business being ranked. I'm sorry, you don't. Number 21. This is absurd too. It's really embarrassing. Is Texas. Coming into week 2, you were unranked, okay? And you played Alabama, the number 1 team in the nation, the standard for college football. I give you all of that. You played a great game, inspired, a lot of effort. You played them to basically a 1-point loss, 20-19, a late game-winning field goal by the Tide was the difference. But once again, let's go ahead and just reward mediocrity. They are ranked after a loss. What the hell is this? Okay? Because Texas politics, they've got to be back. You know, I mean, come on, hook 'em horns. We've got to do whatever we can to get the Texas machine ranked. Come on. Another example of, there's not many teams from the Big 12. Let's justify getting Texas ranked. That's absolute bantha fodder, okay? Now, the biggest ugliness in the AP and coaches poll, and I say both because the coaches poll absolutely mimic the AP polls. All 3 of these teams are still ranked in both polls, and I completely do not understand it. It's shocking. It's disrespectful. It's just dishonorable to the game. The biggest one, Texas fans, take a deep breath because I'm about to lay it on your in-state rival. The biggest one is number 24, Texas A&M. They are still ranked after getting beat at home by Appalachian State. Yes, a good team, but I believe they were a 15 to 18 point favorite at home to win. But not just that. Up until the last drive of the game where A&M attempted a long field goal to tie, up until that, I mean, one of their touchdowns, they lost 17-14 was the final score of this game, by the way. One of the touchdowns was scored by a kickoff return for the Aggies. But other than that last drive, late in the 4th quarter, they only ran 2 plays in Appalachian State territory. They have no quarterback play whatsoever. An offensive line that is like a sieve. I mean, A&M and A&M and Iowa have a ton. There's a lot of correlations there, a lot in common between those two teams right now. But yet A&M is still ranked. Tell me that is not SEC politics. It absolutely is. I mean, and sometimes I'm sorry there, Coach Jimbo Fisher, which they're actually going to be the subject of my sound off on Thursday. Sometimes these eye-grabbing, eye-popping coaching contracts and these shiny golden #1 recruiting classes don't always lead to success. They don't. So the 3 teams that should be ranked, get those 3 out. Marshall, get them ranked. They knocked off Notre Dame on the road, a top 10 team. Appalachian State, yes, they're 1-1, and Marshall's 2-0. They're undefeated and not ranked. Appalachian State is 1-1. They should be ranked. They beat A&M straight up. And the other team is Air Force. Air Force is 2-0. This team under, I believe it's Troy Calhoun. Coach Calhoun, this Air Force team is deadly. They broke it off on Colorado, which, yes, Colorado is down. I understand that, but they're still a Power 5 conference team, and they beat them 41-10. This Air Force team, guys, after 2 games, has rushed for over 1,000 yards. This team is legitimate, and I believe they are going to run the tables. And if you watched my bold predictions episode, I did say the winner of the Mountain West title game between Air Force and Fresno State, you know I love me some Jake Haener and the Bulldogs. The winner of that game in the Mountain West title game is going to represent the non-Power 5 in the New Year's 6 bowl game. They will. Those 3 teams need to be ranked. I'm sick and tired of the biases and the politics, but that's what the college football machine doesn't want to have. They don't want to have these non-Power 5 teams threaten the upper echelon, the power hierarchy. They don't want that. But these 3 teams should be ranked. Yep, at the end of the season, they may not be deserving of it, but right now, reward them for what they have done and what they did over the weekend. Get them mainstream. And the one thing I do like, Appalachian State, big reward for them. I can't wait to watch. College game day for the first time ever is going to Boone, North Carolina for the big Appalachian State Troy matchup this Saturday. So how excellent is that? A little parting gift. But get those teams ranked. So that was week 2's good, the bad, and the ugly. So once again, like, share, comment, let me know what you think. So now my next segment, let me get a quick swig of water, is my team power rankings post 2. As far as my top 10 plus 2, I give you 12 teams each week that I think these are the best teams in the nation. So I have 3 newcomers this week and 3 teams completely dropped off from last week's list. Number 12, making their debut, is Oklahoma. I know they're ranked in the top 10, but they really haven't played legitimate competition yet. I believe at halftime it was 7-3. They were defeating Kent State by that score at half, but they pulled away big time late. So this week at Nebraska, we'll see. Maybe they have the potential to move up, but I need to see them against a little bit more of a stronger competition. Number 11 is Baylor. I know they lost at BYU. They do move down from last week's rankings, but this Baylor team is still dangerous. And I'm really impressed by their team speed, how they run to the ball and away from the ball. And they absolutely are going to be a player in the Big 12. Making their debut, the team that defeated Baylor, number 10, is BYU. I love this team. I did predict in my bold predictions episode a few weeks back that at the end of the season, they would be the best independent team in the nation. And it's looking that way right now with Notre Dame being 0-2 on the season. Number 9 is USC. USC moves up a couple spots from last week. I mean, they looked really good offensively against Stanford over the weekend, a team that had won 4 out of the last 5 in Palo Alto on the farm against them. But Stanford really helped them out. I mean, gave up numerous turnovers. I mean, they were able to sustain long drives against USC, but just that offensive firepower, it's rather than do a nice 5, 6, 8 minute drive, they can score in a matter of plays. So Stanford didn't move the ball against them, but they definitely did them some favors with those turnovers. I just need to see USC play a stronger team. I'm just not quite sold on the men of Troy quite yet. Number 8 is Pitt. Pittsburgh moves down a couple slots from last week. They looked really good in that loss at home to Tennessee, down to, I believe, their 3rd-string quarterback, a loss in overtime. This team is well coached, they're sound, they execute, and they play a different brand of football. I definitely believe the ACC, it's going, whoever wins the Coastal Division, it's going to be a tough matchup if Pittsburgh can win the Atlantic, because it's going to be difficult. Number 7, up a couple spots, I've got Utah. I still really believe in this team. They only put up a 73-burger on Saturday over FCS Southern Utah. Definitely think they're still in the playoff racing contention. Number 6, making their debut. Maybe you think this is a little bit high, but I like this team. I got Tennessee, number 6, after that impressive victory on the road at Pitt. Number 5, I've got Clemson down a spot from last week. Still look pretty solid. Number 4, moving up, I've got the Michigan Wolverines. If J.J. McCarthy could continue to look this impressive, they're going to be a tough out against anyone. Alabama, I've got at number 3. I had them exactly here last week. I definitely think they shouldn't be punished too much for that near loss at Texas. Number 2, I've got Ohio State, just like last week. And number 1, I've got Georgia, who to me still is the best team right now in the nation. And by the way, they just shut out another team via that defense, the Samford Bulldogs on Saturday. So another shutout for that stellar elite defense down there in Athens. So that's my team power rankings post week 2. Now it's time for one of my favorite segments, my 3 cheers, giving some hoopla, some hip hip hoorays, some legit attention to some of these stories, teams, players, coaches that are kind of off the radar. And my first cheer this week is the basketball schools, the powerhouses. They're back. Maybe they're now football powerhouses. I'm talking about Duke and Kansas. Both are out to 2-0 starts on the season. And both of them had very impressive victories over the weekend. Duke, as I mentioned, went to Northwestern and beat the Wildcats and Coach Pat Fitzgerald. And Kansas goes on the road to Morgantown and defeats West Virginia, who gave Pitt everything they could handle week 1 and win in conference against the Mountaineers. So both programs 2-0. It's Duke's first 2-0 start since 2018, and it's Kansas's first 2-0 start since 2011. Both Coach Lance Leipold at Kansas and Coach Mike Elko at Duke have got it going on. Best of luck the rest of the season. We love to see those teams out from the shadows playing well. My next cheer is individual. I'm going to go with quarterback from Wake Forest, Sam Hartman. He returned this week, if you recall. Last week or 2 of camp, he was deemed out for a legitimate amount of time, a non-football related injury. But it came out last week. He was dealing with a blood clot issue, which we know is a very legitimate potential issue, even life-threatening. But he was cleared middle of last week, and they were expecting him to play, maybe not start. But he came back in a big way on the road in Music City against a 2-0, much improved Vanderbilt team. His team won big, but his stats themselves, Sam Hartman throws for exactly 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. So welcome back, Sam Hartman. That's great that you're back. As number 19 Wake Forest just keeps on winning. And my last cheer of the week is to the FCS once again. This is my wild card, my number 3 cheer. Last week we saw 2 FCS teams defeat FBS opponents. And this week we had 4, that's right, 4 victories by FCS squads over FBS opponents. I love this, and I always like to give them plenty of credit. And they were Eastern Kentucky defeated Bowling Green in 7 overtimes. What a game. Well done, Eastern Kentucky. Incarnate Word defeated Nevada in Reno. Big time win for Incarnate Word, and Nevada happens to be Iowa's opponent this weekend in Iowa City. And that game actually right now via Vegas, Iowa is a 23.5 point favorite, which they're saying Iowa's offense is going to score 24 points. Or maybe the Iowa defense has to pitch another shutout. I mean, I don't get all that. I mean, it's crazy to where I can see Iowa's defense pitching more of a shutout than an offense scoring 24 points against a non-Power 5 school, which that's absolutely should be flipped on its sides. But 23.5 point favorite is Iowa over Nevada. I think some of the bettors there in the great state of Nevada maybe are just consuming a little bit too much of the Mary Jane there, the recreational A-OK, the marijuana there in Nevada. Maybe they're just enjoying a little bit too much, but maybe clouding their judgment a little bit. But continue. Back to the FCS victory, sorry. Weber State defeats Utah State, the defending Mountain West champions. So well done, Weber State, over the Aggies of Utah State. And maybe the game of the weekend with the finish of the weekend, Holy Cross. That's right, the Crusaders defeated Buffalo from the MAC Conference on a 46-yard Hail Mary as time expired. Well done, FCS opponents. Well done, Sam Hartman. Well done to the basketball/football schools. And to you, I give you an astounding hip, hip, hooray! That's right. Take it all in. You deserve it. All right. Well, that's my episode for today. Hope you enjoyed my Week 2 review and recap episode. Look for my Week 3 preview and picks. Also within that will be my updated Heisman Trophy standings heading in and candidates heading into Week 3 with my Sound Off segment, which will include Texas A&M and Coach Jimbo Fisher. Definitely want to check that out. That should be posted midday or early evening on Thursday. Thank you once again. Like, share, rate, subscribe. The more subscribers, let's keep the momentum going, get the word out there. So thank you as always. I appreciate it. And thank you. And until Thursday, enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe. And as always, I sign off with peace, progress, prosperity, and I'll see you on Thursday. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog. We'll see you soon. Bye.